Live, and I'm live. All right, this video is going to be on dreadlocks and spirituality. In many different faiths, cultures, peoples around the world, people with dreadlocks, some of them anyway, are more spiritual in nature. And I do the quotation marks because, as I've said before, dreadlocks can be grown for whatever reason you want. From the really plain, simple, it's my hair, I'll do what I want with it, to the I don't care what I look like, so I'm not going to maintain my outer appearance. On that spectrum, right, fashion, religion, faith, spirituality, whatever it is, it's a very wide spectrum. So I know it from my experience. I can't say why others have done it. I can venture guesses, but I know why I did it. So my idea of the dreadlocks is that first and foremost, it represents the crown. Crown of what? Let's say that who is the one who wears the crown? A king wears the crown. And what is a king? A king is someone who rules, who is in control. There are different depictions of kings throughout history and stories. Some of them are benevolent, some are malevolent. But a king in general is somebody who is respected, who has command. And that's partly, in part, what the dreadlocks are. They represent the idea of having a crown on your head. Now, in different faiths, priests and holy people were anointed with oils, and there were those who took it upon themselves to just let their hair grow, and instead of being anointed with something or wearing an external physical crown on their head made of metal and gems and stones or whatnot, they decided that the crown that they will wear will be one which is organic. The crown that they will wear, which will be one that they grow. This is how I see it. The dreadlocks are very much connected to wearing a crown. Now, this does not mean that you get to act all proud and vain. It should ideally be a crown of humility, a crown of patience. So the idea, and I don't know much about, I understand that dreadlocks in some cultures are connected to the crown chakra. I know that in my faith, they're connected to the crown sephira, and I won't get into that right now. Suffice it to say that dreadlocks and natural neglect dreadlocks specifically represent well, things I've mentioned in the past, like patience, like humility, like less, right, like mindfulness. So what is it? Hairs are unique because they each have their own follicle. The head of the hair is unique because it starts from inside and grows outward from the highest, right, the topmost point of the human being. That's where it grows, and it grows down. It basically, like water, it gets to the lowest place that it can. Water is an element that has a lot to do with pleasure. It has a lot to do with humility. The Tao Te Ching, which I've been reading recently in the last few months, speaks of water very highly. Other books and things that I've read also speak of water in the same way as something that comes from on high, from the clouds, from the sky, and goes down to the earth, to the heavens. And not only does it make things grow, like trees and plants and wildlife that drink it, and other kinds of life, but it also is able to take shape and form of whatever it is, of wherever it is that it arrives at. Water does not seek others to accommodate it, it accommodates others. Something like that. So when you start growing your dreads, it's basically you saying, I'm going to take the best part of me, right? The brain, the human brain. We have the largest brain of the mammals, if I'm not mistaken, and there's a reason, right? We have consciousness, we have awareness, we have spirituality in a way that other life forms do not. Part of that is because of our large brains. They facilitate this metaphysical connection. And what is above the brain? The hair, right? The hair grows from inside, from the scalp. It's above the brain. It's seemingly something that is above consciousness, if you take it sort of figuratively, and you are able to grow it. And you're able not only to grow it, but you're able to grow it to such a degree that it affects the rest of you. From the topmost part of your being, it grows down. And regardless of where you are in the process of your dreadlock journey, this is something that remains a constant. It goes from up to down. And much like water itself, it helps you grow, right? It may not arrive as water does from on high onto the earth, but it does in some way do that, because through your journey, when it grows down, you're able to grow yourself. Basically, you develop and you grow if you want to. Obviously, you could simply neglect your hair and that's it, and not think about it ever again, right? My hair personally, I've cultivated, as I've said, a very deep and meaningful relationship with it because of this, because I see it as a crown. I see it as something which helps to facilitate, not control, because that's an illusion, but command, let's say. I'm able to command myself better because I have an external mark of my commitment to the Most High. I have an external mark of my covenant. I have an external mark which keeps growing and which I don't need to maintain. So it's something which reminds me of who I am and what I'm doing. Now, like I said, I'm trying very hard not to attribute any overly special significance to my hair. It's still material, it's still physical, it will still decay and die just like my body. So I need to be careful with that. I don't want to develop such a relationship with it where it sort of becomes subservient to other things. No, the hair is a sign of the covenant. The hair is not the covenant, right? You could be monks, Buddhist monks, shave their heads. Other people in other faiths also shave their heads as a sign of them giving up on ego, vanity, pride, external, appearance. And there is that aspect to it. There is that aspect to it. I see it the other way because of the way that I was raised and because of the faith that I belong to, right? The Nazarite is commanded to let the locks of his hair, his or her hair, grow long, wild, free, for that reason. From something which becomes, or from something which might be a source of pride and of vanity and of false piety, let's say, it becomes something which represents the complete opposite. It represents patience and humility and lack of pride. This does not mean that the second you start growing your natural dreads, you've already achieved it, but it means that you have some point of reference. And this is what I consider my dreadlocks to be. They're not just how I look, right? And they're not just what I'm doing or not doing. It's a sign to me. Whenever I look in the mirror, whenever I find myself right fiddling with them or touching them or taking a piece of clothing that fell in there, a thread out of them, I'm reminded that these are there for a reason. I'm reminded that these are there because I have a certain path that I want to follow. There's a certain person that I want to be and to become. Again, if I would wake up completely bald tomorrow, that would still be the case. I don't attribute such significance to the hair. It's not predicated on, right? I don't base all of my beliefs on the hair, but it certainly plays a role because it's so external and because it's so obvious and because it's part of the way that I live my life. I don't I don't find myself tending to it so much, but when I do, that's what it brings about. I'm able to look at myself, or even right down here, and see that I have these strands. What do they represent? How did I get them? What will be of them? These are questions which are not only physical, but are mainly spiritual because of their significance. So dreadlocks represent the crown. They represent knowledge, higher consciousness, right? The halo that's above, let's say, Jesus's head in various depictions of Jesus, the halo that is above the heads of angels, right? Or Moses with his with the depiction, false depiction, incidentally, of two rays of light, two horns that is coming out of his head. It's that type of thing. It has to do with the head and what's above it. The head with its, right, the brain with its hemispheres and its different areas represents consciousness, and above it is higher consciousness. This is where we draw inspiration from. This is where the unknown becomes known, right? Something like that. There's a kind of spiritual funnel from, the unknown source of creation down to this physical world, and it goes through, let's say, your mind And on the way, it encounters those dreads before it's beamed into your head, for lack of a better term. And that's what the dreads represent. And there's a reason why they grow down. This isn't true to everyone. I mean, some of them, with some people, they, I don't suppose, grow only up. They grow down. They may go up and then down, whatever it is. The idea is that you're supposed to take all of that knowledge, all of that, well, any ideas, teachings, inspiration, crazy ideas. I mean, crazy in the positive sense. You're supposed to take all and manifest it in the world from the highest place, grab it, hold it, and pull it down into the physical world and manifest it, right? As Dr. Jordan Peterson says, speak your being forward. That's what this is all about for me. Here is a reminder for myself to speak my being forward. And again, even if I was bald, that would still be the case. But having these dreadlocks, a physical manifestation of my spiritual covenant, it's very much, it's so beneficial to me because I walk with it and I sleep with it. I live with it. It's mine to carry and keep and pay attention to. Like I said, I don't let them get too dirty. I don't overly maintain them, but I do maintain them to the degree that I keep them clean, that I keep it washed, right? Not unpleasant because I have a wife and I'm living in the world, you know? So there are things I still need to take care of. But overall, the dreadlocks are a reminder for me of who I am, what it is I'm doing in this life, where I want to go, and what steps I need to take or am taking in order to get there. Dreadlocks and spirituality are not, they belong to, like I said, many faiths, many religions, many practices and modes of being. Again, that spectrum from just external fashion, it's cool, it's a trend, let's do it with whatever method we use, to the spiritual, natural neglect, I don't care what I look like and that's okay. And you could be anywhere on that spectrum. You could look at it from top to bottom, left to right. You could be anywhere there. You could be in a few places simultaneously. I am. I love my dreads, but I also am not, I don't love them so much that I would, mourn for them. And I like the way that I look, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm only preoccupied with the external and the physical. It's a big part of who I am, sure, but it's not who I am. So this was a short little rant on what dreadlocks and spirituality mean to me. I am sure I didn't say everything I wanted to say. I'll get into it probably in a different video. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, likes, dislikes, what is your method? What is your journey? Why are you growing your dreadlocks? Let me know in the comments and have a good one. Let's have a great week.